What if everything you've been told about living an extraordinary life is the very thing holding you back from actually living one? That question isn't meant to be provocative just for the sake of attention. It's a doorway, a portal to a deeper, quieter truth that often goes unnoticed in our noisy, fast-moving world. We are constantly sold the image of the extraordinary as something distant, rare, and dramatically different from where we currently are. It's dressed in the clothes of massive success, relentless optimization, and dazzling achievements. But what if the real secret to an extraordinary life is not found in chasing more, but in re-seeing the ordinary? We live in a world that idolizes outcomes, bigger goals, higher status, next-level success. But the irony is that this version of extraordinary often creates a widening gap, a chasm between who we are and who we think we're supposed to be. And we chase relentlessly. Each time we reach a goal, we barely pause before setting our eyes on the next one. That fleeting satisfaction we felt for a moment is drowned out by the whisper, "What's next?" And before we know it, the extraordinary becomes the new normal, and we're back at square one. Still searching, still unsatisfied. This is not failure. This is the inevitable outcome of chasing outcomes. We've built our sense of fulfillment on moving targets. The truth is, an extraordinary life doesn't begin when you reach some magical level of success. It begins when you shift your perspective, when you start experiencing the ordinary with extraordinary awareness. The tools I'll share with you aren't just strategies to achieve more. They're lenses to see more clearly. They're not designed to change your circumstances as much as they're designed to transform your relationship with your circumstances. Because sometimes the most profound breakthroughs don't come from changing your life. They come from changing how you see your life. Think back to your last big achievement. You poured time, energy, and passion into it. And yes, it felt incredible. For a moment. But almost as quickly as the joy arrived, it faded. And then came the emptiness, the quiet search for the next mountain to climb. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a flaw in the formula you were given. We've been taught to chase extraordinary outcomes instead of building extraordinary frameworks. Frameworks that shift how we interpret the world, how we make decisions, how we engage with meaning, with work, with ourselves. Imagine meeting your 80-year-old self, not the polished, fantasy version, but the real one, etched with the wisdom of decades. What would they tell you about the choices you're making today? The regret minimization framework asks one question. Looking back from age 80, which choice will I regret less? This question bypasses the noise of the moment, fear, pride, distraction, and taps into a deeper clarity. It gives you access to a kind of wisdom you haven't yet earned, but desperately need. It's a way of borrowing tomorrow's clarity to guide today's chaos. Think about a difficult decision you've been avoiding, a conversation you know you need to have, a leap you're afraid to take, a truth you're unwilling to admit. Most decision-making frameworks calculate immediate discomfort, fear of rejection, potential failure, awkwardness. But the regret framework asks a deeper question. Will I regret not doing this when I'm 80? And more often than not, the answer is crystal clear. Our future selves send signals through our present emotions: disappointment, frustration, longing. These aren't just feelings, they're guideposts, signals from a version of you that sees the bigger picture. We often wait for dramatic life shifts to give us clarity. But what if, instead, we could use clarity to create those shifts? That's where the concept of ikigai enters the picture, not as a trendy life hack, but as a profound diagnostic tool for fulfillment. It's not just about finding your passion. It's about aligning 4 essential elements: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. It's the intersection of joy and usefulness, of meaning and sustainability. And it doesn't require quitting your job or moving to a mountain. Sometimes it just means adjusting how you see what you already do. When we feel like something's missing, it's often because one part of that ikigai puzzle is out of sync. Maybe we're doing work we're good at, but don't love. Maybe we're passionate about something, but it doesn't serve others. These misalignments create internal friction. But when all four align, work becomes flow. Life becomes purpose-driven. Time disappears, and we find ourselves fully immersed in what matters most, not by chance, but by design. But alignment isn't enough in a world filled with volatility. That's why we need a deeper trait: anti-fragility. We're taught to be resilient, to endure, to survive. But anti-fragility is something greater. It means we get stronger from stress. We grow from disruption. Think of a muscle. It doesn't get stronger through rest alone. It strengthens through resistance. In the same way, an extraordinary life isn't built by avoiding chaos, but by systematically learning to use it. Most people avoid feedback because they fear criticism. Some tolerate it with gritted teeth, but those who are anti-fragile seek it actively. They use discomfort as fuel. Every piece of negative feedback becomes a blueprint for growth. They turn poison into medicine. The situation doesn't change, but their relationship to it does. That's the power of anti-fragility. It's not about surviving the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain and come out stronger. In the world, the ability to enter a state of deep work is not just a productivity boost, it's a competitive superpower. Deep work is uninterrupted, focused, cognitively demanding effort, and it's disappearing. Instead, we're swimming in shallow tasks, emails, meetings, scrolling, multitasking. But the results between shallow and deep work are night and day. One yields exhaustion without progress. The other produces exceptional value with a sense of fulfillment. Think back to the last time you were so absorbed in your work that you lost track of time. That was deep work. That was the real you in full engagement with life. And here's a powerful secret. About 20% of what you do creates 80% of your fulfillment. That's the 80-20 principle at work. It's everywhere: business, relationships, health, learning. But most people waste time on the trivial many instead of investing in the vital few. When you identify and double down on the 20% that truly moves the needle, life becomes not just efficient, but meaningful. This isn't laziness, it's elegance. It's the art of doing less, better. Yet even smart decisions can lead to poor outcomes if we stop at short-term thinking. That's why second-order thinking is critical. It's the mental model of asking, and then what? Not just what happens now, but what happens because of what happens now. This kind of thinking prevents self-sabotage disguised as short-term gain. It reveals the hidden cost of convenience, the delayed impact of choices, the compound effect of consistency, or the lack of it. In a world wired for immediacy, second-order thinkers gain the edge by seeing through time. But knowing all this isn't enough. Knowledge doesn't change lives. Implementation does. And implementation doesn't come from willpower. It comes from systems, triggers, rituals, and environment. Want to apply the regret framework? Use a photo of your older self as a decision anchor. Want to commit to deep work? Design your environment to remove distractions before you sit down to work. Want to avoid shallow living? Create visual cues and routines that remind you of what truly matters. Extraordinary becomes normal when your life is designed around it. Still, resistance will come. It always does. Social resistance from people who liked you better when you played small. mental resistance from your own brain clinging to familiar patterns, emotional resistance when the truth cuts deeper than you expected. But that's okay. Resistance isn't the enemy. It's the cost of transformation. And when you stop fighting it and start working with it, you gain control. You build emotional agility, the ability to feel discomfort and still move forward. You stop retreating and start rising. And here's the most beautiful part. These shifts compound. Like a penny doubled daily, the power of these frameworks multiplies. Each one enhances the others. You begin to live from an integrated system, not a scattered set of ideas. And over time, without even noticing it, you wake up one day and realize, this is it. Not because you reached some final destination, but because you've built an extraordinary way of seeing, thinking, choosing, and living. The life you wanted wasn't out there. It was hidden within how you chose to experience the life you already had.